Hello everybody, my name is Sasha Wallace and welcome to my informative speech. In today's informative speech, I'm going to be telling you guys about Senate Bill 673, which is a new bill that has been signed into California, which creates a new addition to emergency alert systems, which now has its own alert to help find missing Black women and children. Did you know that over 36% of missing people are oftentimes Black women and children? A reason to remember my speech is because it urgently addresses the disproportionate rates of missing people of color within marginalized communities, specifically in emergency response systems, calling in action to raise awareness for missing people, specifically under the Amber Alert diaspora. My speaker credibility comes from me not only being a member of the African American community, as well as also being a young Black woman, but it also comes from my hours of research, which I have showed to display an example of marginalized discrimination, specifically within justice, liberty, emergency response systems, and statewide bills. Systemic inequalities in emergency response systems play a critical step in rectifying historical neglect by creating proactive approaches to awareness, specifically within the Black community. Did you know that over 40% of missing people are oftentimes Black, according to the National Crime and Information Center?
In June of 2023, Fedora Walker, 38-year-old African-American mother of two from Los Angeles, went missing from an argument with her ex-girlfriend. She was last seen heading towards a train station on 103rd Street in Watts, California, supposedly on her way to California. A police report was filed, and the case was later transferred to the Hollywood Division after initially being handled by the Hawthorne Station. However, 1 month later, on August 30th, Fedora's phone was tracked to Dallas, Texas, but the person with her phone never responded. Sadly, on December 10, 2023, Fedora's family received confirmation that her remains had been found, confirming the initial discovery of her skeletal remains on September 21, 2023. The first 72 hours are vital when finding a missing person.
Fedora's case unfortunately lacked depth in not only media coverage, but also showed you the unequal coverage and unreliable sources about her case. This is one example of the disparities in media coverage, specifically in marginalized communities, but it's still an important example. The lack of coverage in cases shows you patterns of perpetrated injustice and unbiased and unconscious discrimination. The lack of media coverage creates lack of growth within cases, creates lack of effort within missing persons cases, creates lack of resources to gain knowledge to be able to give any kind of update or any kind of resourceful information to missing persons and their families as well. According to the article Invisible Damsel, Differences in How National Media Framed Coverage for Missing Black Women by Doris B. Moody M. H. Blackwell of January 2009. They quote, "Mainstream society has an unconscious bias against women of color, older women, and men, specifically in instances of missing persons or exploited people." Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of missing persons cases, all starting with the creation of Amber Alert. The establishments of Amber Alerts have now spanned across all 50 states, as well as the U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as Puerto Rico. According to the California Highway Patrol, what confirms anybody to be a missing person is confirming the abduction of anyone who has been taken, also including parents and guardians. Also, according to the California Highway Patrol, an endangered person is a person who is within an environment of a possibly dangerous person. Once enforcement determines these eligibilities, news alerts are put on highway signs, cell phones, TVs, radio stations, interruption of television, anything possible to get the public's attention to bring them back home to safety. Did you know that there are several different kinds of Amber Alerts? There's the Silver Alert, which is for people who are 65 and older. There's obviously the Ebony Alert, which is for missing Black women and children. There's also the Amber Alert, which is obviously for missing children under the age of 18. There is the Feather Alert, which is for missing Native American and Indigenous people, and on so and on forth. Addressing the discrimination within marginalized communities, specifically in emergency response systems, shows you the lack of response, shows you the lack of adequate, and the lack of equal distribution for resources. It highlights systemic barriers as well as creating an opportunity for equality and equity. Some may argue that the Amber Alert system is already adequate enough, but is it diverse enough? Moving on from Ebony Alerts, we're now going to talk about the importance of trust and teamwork through the community and the media to help with missing persons cases, specifically missing persons cases in marginalized communities. The introduction of the Ebony Alert shows pivotal changes in encouraging equality and exclusivity, specifically in missing persons systems. Historically, the media has overlooked missing persons cases. We need to learn to acknowledge the historic oppression of missing people in marginalized communities. The Ebony Alert has now been able to undo the wrongs and rectify injustice. The Ebony Alert takes responsibility and vulnerability for missing marginalized people of color. It helps us to create a sense of trust, addressing the systemic vulnerabilities and the systemic gaps within the overturn rate of bringing missing Black women and children home. It makes African Americans feel like they are protected through the justice system. Let's strive for greater inclusion. Now let's also understand politicians' efforts in the creation of the Ebony Alert. The Ebony Alert first came into passing as of January 1st, 2024. Politicians and senators play a crucial role in drafting bills. They negotiate compromise and create passage through the voter system, advocating for proposed legislation, which helps to create solution for biases within justice and law. SB 673 was created by Senator Stephen Bradford. Bradford proposed the idea, and our state governor, Governor Newsom, went ahead and signed the bill on October 8th of last year. Again, creating a bill that creates inclusivity, acknowledgement, and raises awareness for missing persons within the Amber Alert systems. As of now, the Ebony Alert has already been into effect. It has already helped to bring a young missing 17-year-old Black girl home. Through negotiation and compromise, legislation has created a bill that amplifies and creates resources and notify the public of any missing persons of color, specifically Black women and children. These alerts enhance advocacy. They shed light on the security and the emergency of obtaining missing persons' whereabouts within a timely and urgent manner. We matter too. In conclusion, the approval of SB 673 launches Ebony Alert systems and the milestones for missing persons advocacy, specifically Black women and children, showing the push to close unanimous gaps in emergency response systems by recognizing and tackling unique struggles within the justice system, enhancing effectiveness, fostering an inclusive society. Through ongoing collaboration, let's work towards a future where emergency response systems leave no one behind.